All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Everybody's on tonight, so I'd like to start just by calling the Center Planning Commission for July 21st, 2020 to order with a roll call.
Do you want to do this roll call and then introduce John, or do you want to introduce him and then do roll call?
Let's just do the roll call.
All right. Jerry Harris.
Here.
Tiffany Morris.
Here.
Amber Beal.
Here.
Craig Langford.
Here.
Devin Murphy.
Here.
Joey Engel.
Here.
And Jeff Seifarth.
Here as well. All right, just a few housekeeping notes. Commissioners, as you remember, there'll be a couple of roll call votes this evening, which will just need to make sure we're paying attention to mute and unmute. For those in the audience either watching, virtually, I guess, if you have a question, feel free. There's a little Q&A thing at the bottom, I believe. You can ask a question, and then we will have some speakers this evening. So as you come up, just let us know that you're available. If you are calling in, oh yeah, thank you, Nicole. If you are calling in, you can press *9 and it'll kind of raise your hand so that you can be acknowledged as well. And so with that, first thing this evening is the introduction of John Sessoms, and John is our newest Planning Commission member. And so John, I'd like to welcome you to the group. John's actually in Fort Smith. He was saying he's down doing his 2 weeks of guard duty. So one of these days, John will actually be in a meeting where we'll get to meet each other. So I just wanted to welcome you to the group this evening.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. Proud to serve. Thanks, everyone.
And so you can see a couple of commissioners, that are here, and then some other folks that you might see pop up. So Todd Wright is our city clerk / recorder. So he's the one that will take care of us from a meeting and a notes perspective. The staff is on there. Nicole, Donna, Diane, and Lorraine. The team that provides us with some support, all the support, I should say, not just some, but all the support. So they're there. If there's a question that pops up legal wise, I didn't see Rabel on earlier, but I'm assuming Brian Rabel's on.
I am here.
That gives us some advice if necessary. So just a few folks that you may see pop up while we're going throughout the meeting. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start on the agenda. And first thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our meeting of 7/7/2020.
This is Jerry. I make a motion we approve the minutes of 7/7/2020.
Joey, I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Thank you for stating your name. I forgot to mention that, so appreciate that. We have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, we will consider those approved. Under old business, we didn't have anything on here, but I just wanted a very quick update to the commissioners in regards to the comp plan. If you remember right, at our last meeting, we did pass a resolution to send to the city council. After about 2 to 2.5 hours of questions, answers, public comments, it was not approved. There is some follow-up, and one of the things I asked Todd to do was to send the notes, the minutes of the meeting, so that for those of you that were not able to be on there, feel free to read through. And as a planning group, we are going to continue to push forward, and we've got a few follow-up things, and then it'll be back on the one of the future agendas. So I did just want to give you a brief update on that.
Hey, Jeff, this is Jerry. Did I understand you say the council did not approve, or they did approve?
They did not approve. There was a few questions and comments. I would say a lot of the question was around the street plan. From my opinion, I think it had to do a little bit with people not understanding fully about what our obligations are as a planning commission in regards to having a street plan, having a master land use plan, you know, and this, you know, this comp plan to lead not only us, but the city going forward. And so I've had a couple of emails, a little meeting with, you know, Lorraine today to see if there's some things that we can put together that may help clarify any additional questions or what our obligations are. So that's what I would say, Jerry, is, you know, there was a few questions from some of the council members. So the good thing is it didn't get declined or didn't get denied, but it will come up in the future. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into new business here. We do have two public hearings this evening. And again, the first one is a public hearing. This is for conditional use 20-05, David Electric Mobile Food Vendor Parking. This is actually at 226 North Main Street. This is actually near the City Hall, and it is zoned C1. And so with that, I would like to entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Ms. Tiffany, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second that. That's correct.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, we're now open in public hearing. I believe that Diane Bethany was going to be on to give us an overview. Bethany, are you available?
Yes, she is there, and I'm about to allow her to talk. Okay, Bethany, whoops. Where did she go? All right, you should be good to go, Bethany.
Hi, this is Bethany with David Electric across the parking lot from you guys. How are you tonight?
We're good. How are you?
Good.
Just kind of give us a brief overview, Bethany, of what you guys are thinking here, okay?
Okay, we are proposing a mobile food vendor spot at the northeast end of our parking lot. We do have a few lined up, but unfortunately we haven't chose one yet. We're just waiting on approval from you guys.
All right. Thank you. Diane, do you want to take us through the proposal?
Sure can. As Bethany stated, this property is here by City Hall. It is on the south end, you know, basically of the Bemco parking lot by Spring Street. It is zoned Central Business District, and they are looking for 3 years for this particular food truck. And like she said, it would be different ones. It's not for just a certain food truck. It would be, you know, different vendors that would come into that location. There has been a conditional use for a food truck previously, but it was north kind of where the light pole is. Oh, thank you, Nicole. You're so good. But that's technically not their property. So we were looking to try to find a spot that would work for them on their actual piece of property there. There's not going to be any, you know, outdoor changes in anything structural. The water, the tenant's truck or trailer will be self-contained. David will provide electricity, which is very fitting. They are an electric company. The hours of operation will vary depending on, you know, whom is renting the space. Probably, you know, between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Nothing, you know, it's going to be really late or things like that. Typically, you know, it's going to be 1 to 2 people that are going to be working there. There's not a whole lot of room, of course, in a food truck. There's no signage proposed. You know, any tenant would have to make an application to the city for a sign permit if they do any additional signage. You know, if they do, you know, like a flag sign or anything to that effect. And let's see, as you can see by this photo, I kind of came up with 2 options for them. This first option here would be for a truck that faces Main Street. The biggest caveat with this one is the truck can't be longer than 19.5 feet because it does have to stay 10 feet from the structure. So, you know, that would be great if somebody comes in and they kind of have a little bit shorter of a truck or trailer. If they want it facing that way, that's the way, that's about as large as it can be. And then Nicole, if you scroll to the next page for option 2, this would allow for a larger truck. They would have, they could have one up to like 22 feet wide, but of course it would be facing the north instead of, east-west. And I just want to let you know, what looks like a structure in the lot next door is not. I believe it was a school bus parked there that day that they took the aerial photo. So I didn't want you guys thinking that there's a structure or something like that there. There's not. It's just gravel parking. Of course, as far as current use, Davitt does have a conditional use permit for their property currently. That's for their electric office sales and a shop. The shop is that rear building. That's where the food vendor is going to be closest to. And then the lot further to the west is, making sure I have my direct in my brain. That's where their shop and retail and things, their retail and like storage kind of stuff is, and their offices. And the requirement is that they do have 10 parking spaces for that particular use. So that was another reason we had to kind of shove the food truck toward the back. They do have a freestanding sign kind of at the northwest corner of the front building. And they do also have a nice mural on the side of that front building. Of course, it has access from Main Street. And as far as for the food truck, there's plenty of parking. And Bemco, I don't necessarily think theirs is considered a private lot. So it should be, plenty of parking for anybody that would be visiting the food truck. I guess I will let you guys ask any questions before we go over some of the possible, the proposed conditions for the food, for the conditional use.
I did have a question about parking, and I know we say 10 spots. Do they have to be somehow designated, or what would that look like, or do they just need to be available?
They do have to have 10 parking spaces on their property, and one of them does have to be a handicap van accessible spot. And I believe that's, trying to think of what I see out there every day. I think it's at the back end of their retail shop there, I believe. Bethany, feel free to let me know if
Yeah.
that's not the accurate location.
Nope, that's exactly where it's at.
But that is, what their original conditional use states, is that they do need to have 10 parking spaces, and one of those is the handicapped spot.
Okay.
Anything else before we go over some of the conditions?
I don't. Do any of the commissioners have any questions before we go through a couple of the conditions? Let's talk about the conditions, Diane.
Okay, Nicole, can you scroll over to some of those, please? Oop, oop, there we go. They are requesting the 3 years for this permit. If that is acceptable with you guys, you can do the 3 years. So it would not expire until 7/21 of 2023. This would, of course, make it easier for, the property owner, so they don't have to come in, like every summer if the snow cone person wants to be there, or every time they find a food vendor that wants to locate on their property, and then it takes time to get all of this done. And we have done 3 years. I believe the one we just did for the Woo Pig Mooey, I believe, was also like a 3-year term. One thing that's kind of particular with this site, because of the regulation that the truck does have to be 10 feet from the existing structure, one of the possible conditions would be that, any front-facing truck, so a truck or trailer that's going to face Main Street keep it longer than 19 feet, to keep it on their property and keep it away from the building. Then I do have on here, like I said, that they do have to have 10 parking spaces with their current conditional use. For a food vendor, in the city, we don't have any specific requirements for parking at this time. But if you guys wanted to make any conditions on that, that would be up to you guys, of course. And next page, Nicole. Signage, like I said, they don't have any proposed at this point in time. A possible condition is that any temporary or portable signage must be removed outside of business hours or when the cart, truck, trailer, whatever, is not present. Safety, of course, is not really a condition we can say they don't have to do, because they do have to have a fire inspection and be okay through the fire department. So any food vendor that comes there, they do have to do their own business license and, of course, make sure that they meet all fire code. So those are some things for you guys to mull over.
Okay, thanks, Diane. I'm going to go ahead and open up to the public now, just in case there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak. We are in a public hearing right now, so if you wish to speak, there should be an opportunity for you to, I believe, select raise hand if you're virtual, and if you happen to be on the phone, you can do asterisk or *9, and it will raise your hand, and then you can ask any questions or make any comments. So first call from anyone that wishes to speak. Second call from anyone that wishes to speak. And we'll do a third and final call. Nicole or Diane, does anyone wish to speak?
I do not see any hands raised other than Bethany.
Okay. So with that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Tiffany. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
After second.
All right, a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Now, Nicole, I'm going to ask if you could go back to the conditions so that we can agree to those. All right. Is there anyone on the commission that's opposed to 3 years?
I do have a concern on that, and it's related to a couple of things. When they had the food vendor, they had the snow cone by the light pole. It was a little bit hard to have people contained so that other people going through the parking area didn't run over anyone. How are they going to do that in this area? Is there something proposed? And then how many parking spaces are left? Is that whole parking area being used for the food truck, or how does that work?
The parking, BIMCO has given us permission verbally to use their parking area. A lot of times our guys are gone by 2:30 in the afternoon. So all of that area right in front of where we're proposing to put the food vendor, all of that would be open.
Okay, good.
So
It's
I
a
think the difference is, Lorraine, is this is in the back versus the front. And so
Right.
I don't think there's anybody going to go back as far or, make an immediate exit off of Main Street. Hopefully, where the snow cone would have been.
Yes, it was quite the challenge to figure out where to site that food truck. That way it wouldn't impede people coming into the parking lot or coming into their business or their parking.
Yeah. There is quite a bit of parking, along there during the day. So I just want to make sure that part was open. And if they could have, something that kind of keeps the kids where they, like on court day today was a busy day. So there may be times where they just may need to watch the children a little closer.
Hey, can I ask anyone that's on to make sure that if you're not speaking to mute your microphone, because I know I'm getting some feedback and I'm sure others are as well. So just as a courtesy, please try to do that so we get a little less feedback.
I think the issues was with Bethany, so I keep trying to mute and unmute her so she has an opportunity to make any
Okay.
comments in her project also. So she is muted again.
So I just want to make sure, Lorraine, your concern wasn't with the 3 years. Your concern was more about the overall space and where the trailer is going to sit and the parking versus the 3 years. Is that correct?
Yes, as long as there's sufficient, I can see that this would be a lot safer than it was by the light pole with a lot of traffic around there. So I wouldn't have a problem with the 3 years as long as there are no problem, that could show up. We do always state that condition that should unforeseen, circumstances arise that do cause an issue, that we bring it back to the planning commission. So I would like that condition in there just in case, if that's okay. Otherwise, 3 years is fine.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any other questions or comments in regards to any of the conditions, the 3 years, the size of the maximum size, I'll call it, of the truck, and the 10 parking spots, one of which will be designated van accessible handicap, which is actually already there.
Hi, Jeff, this is John. I just had one quick question. It was mentioned about the electric requirement. Is there a requirement for additional trash or waste disposal or food disposal that would be required for that? Obviously not dumping food in a regular trash can. Is there an additional requirement for that, or?
We don't necessarily put anything on that. We would rely more on, I guess, the health department or the whoever would approve it. We would rely on them to kind of police the way that they would take care of their waste.
But as far as trash, like from the snow cones or the napkins and so forth, we do police that part.
Yeah, if they were gonna, dump grease and needed a grease a receptacle, if you will, then we'd want to make sure that it's in the right place. And we've had some of those in the past where they've actually requested that, and we've talked about that, or it would have a designated spot.
Okay, yeah, that was more my question there about hazardous disposal, not necessarily trash. Thank you.
Yes, and I think that when I spoke with Bethany previously, about, water and any, wastewater and things like that, she said that they would, prefer people to have their own self-contained either trailer or truck. So that way, everything goes with them or comes with them each day. And Bethany, I will unmute you if you want to go ahead and answer that question. Make sure I wasn't telling a fib on you.
Oh, no. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. We fully intend for them to take any waste that they have with them. Of course, we like to keep it clean, so we won't be allowing anything, to be junked up or anything like that.
Okay, thanks, Bethany.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions or concerns made the commissioners? If not, then I would entertain a motion for the conditional use at Davitt Electric. This would be for a mobile food vendor parking with the conditions as we stated, which would be 3 years, maximum based on the way the picture is, 19 foot long, 10 parking spaces, and no signage currently listed, with the understanding that if there was an issue that came up, then it would come back before us as a planning commission.
Now, I do have one quick question on that, Jeff. They do have two options for the siding on that spot. And the condition would just be on that option number 1 as far as the length.
Okay, then I'm good with that. I guess if everybody else is good with that.
I just
depending on
wanted
how-
to make sure that you guys were all aware that it's basically the same space. It's just, you know, two options to how it would be sited on that spot.
Okay,
And just the option 1 with the north-south, you know, the east-west facing truck would have to be the 19.5-foot length maximum. You
okay.
guys can say that in your motion however you like.
All right, if there's no other questions or comments from any of the commissioners, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. This is Tiffany. I'll make a motion to approve conditional use 20-05 Davitt Electric mobile food vendor parking with the conditions as stated, depending on the orientation of the food truck for a 3-year time period and 10 parking spaces and any other comments that would be subject to this.
Devin, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Todd, if you'll do a roll call for me.
John Sessoms,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes,
Tiffany Morris,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Greg Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
and Jeff Seifbarth.
Yes. Thank you, Bethany, and good luck.
Thank you, guys.
All right, next on the agenda this evening is our second public hearing. This is for rezone 20-14, Steel Development, Fox Haven on Bliss Street. This is from A1 to R3. And so with that, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Amber. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for rezone 20-14 Steel Development Fox Haven from A1 to R3.
This is
Joey,
Tiffany.
I'll
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, is either Tony or Ferdy on the phone to give us an overview?
Ferdy is there and you should be unmuted, Ferdy.
Hey, Ferdy, do you just want to give us a quick overview?
Try now. There we go. He's good.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Ferdy.
Okay, good deal. Okay, so this request is for a 2-acre rezone that's south of a 4-acre request that we made earlier this year that we had to do because of the lot split that we submitted last year. So since then, we've actually decided to proceed with the subdivision here. So we had to add this area that's to the south of that request to allow that subdivision to proceed.
Okay, thanks, Ferdy. If you'll just hang on, just in case we have any questions, we may come back to you, okay?
Okay, thanks.
All right, Diane, do you want to go ahead and give us an overview through the packet, please?
Yes, sir. Here on this map, you can see this piece of property that it does have access currently with an access easement from Bliss Street down to the property. And the property that Ferdy was talking about that they did a rezone earlier this year was the property there to the north that is zoned R3 single family. They do intend to develop the land and it would be part of tract A1 and 1C, which they did come in with a tract split, as Ferdy had mentioned when they did that. They did that tract split. They had to do the rezone because it was too small. Of course, the high density residential is intended for single family dwellings with minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet with 25-foot front, 20-foot rear, and 7-foot side setbacks. The access would of course be there from Bliss Street, which is designated as a collector on the current master street plan, which has a minimum of 60 foot of right of way. And with their subdivision, they are going to be dedicating right of way for the future street there, for the future improvements on the street. And of course, on the proposed master street plan, whenever that is finally done and it's approved, it is going to be a minor arterial with 90 feet of right of way. And off the top of my head, since this is just a rezone and not the subdivision, I can't tell you the exact right of way being dedicated, but I know it definitely meets with the current master street plan. It is surrounded, as you see, by A1, but then anything that is not the agriculture property is R3, which is what they are requesting to be rezoned to. So we do consider this to be compatible with the adjacent zoning. The current land use plan does show this as a mixed use area. So that means you could have high density residential, you could have, you know, commercial apartments, you know, all kinds of different things. And that is, we do consider that to be consistent with the current, and also, so you guys know, whenever the plan, the comprehensive plan is adopted, it is also compatible with the comprehensive plan, land use plan. So that's the basics on that one. So if you guys have any questions, or the public has any questions before we get to any of the questions for you guys to consider.
All right, let's go ahead and open it up to the public. If anyone from the public does wish to speak, of course, you have the opportunity virtually to click raise your hand and be recognized, or if you happen to call in, then you can do the *9 and be recognized to speak as well. So with that, I'll make the first call for anyone from the public that wishes to speak. And we'll make the second call for anyone from the public that wishes to speak. And we'll do the third and final call. Diana or Nicole, does anyone wish to speak?
I do not see any hands raised nor any questions in the Q&A section.
Okay. So with that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Tiffany. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that. This is Joe.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Are there any questions, concerns, or comments from any of the commissioners? All right, let's go ahead and go through our considerations that we have to go through. And the first one is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan? If not, why? And I would say that, you know, based on, you know, the plan that's there along with the surrounding property, that this one would be consistent. Does anybody disagree with that? So Todd, we're okay on that one as well. Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? And again, there is some high density single family residential around, including the parcel that's going to be with this. Does anybody disagree that this would be compatible with the surrounding area? So Todd, we're good with that one. Would all the permitted uses in this new zone be compatible in this location and surrounding areas? And it is, they are asking for R3 single family. So this one would, in my opinion, be compatible. Does anyone disagree with that? Would the rezoning provide a benefit to one landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? And I'm going to say the answer is no on this one, or the answer would be no on this one. Would you all agree with that? All right. And then if the public is opposed, why? Are the objections based upon factual information relating to this request or opinion based? And we had no public comment, so we're okay there. If there's no other questions, comments, or concerns from any of the commissioners, then I would entertain a motion for the rezone 20-14 Steel Development. This is Fox Haven on Bliss Street from A1 to R3.
Joey, I'll make a motion to approve rezone 2014 Steel Development, Fox Haven.
This is Tiffany. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Todd, if you'll do a roll call for me as well, please.
We'll start with you again, John. John Sessoms,
Oh, yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Tiffany Morris,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
You bet.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
and Jeff Seifert.
Yes. All right, thanks, Ferdy.
Thank you very much.
All right, next on the agenda this evening is development 20-03, the Woods Commercial Development. This is at 5830 Brookside Road, and this is I-1. Donna, do you know if they were able to jump on yet?
I see Tim Sorry, but I don't see Ken. Tim, are you speaking, or should we postpone this until Ken gets here?
Tim, are you there?
We're all here. Got the client and Ken and I together.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Do you guys want to go ahead and just give us a brief overview for the planning commissioners?
Yes, be happy to. Basically, we've got a commercial project on Brookside Road. You had actually seen a commercial development and approved a large scale several years ago, I think, on this piece of property with, I think, maybe 3 or 4 different buildings, 3 different buildings. Basically, that development didn't go through, and our client, Greg, has purchased that and wanted to downsize basically that commercial operation to fit his needs. So we've got a lot less footprint of pavement and buildings that will be going on this site. It's next to the Benton County Recycle Center on Brookside. And basically Mr. Woods runs a business that he does insulation work and other specialty work for residential construction, so subcontracting work. And this will be his office and warehouse location for he and his employees. And be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
All right, thanks, Tim. Donna, do you want to go ahead and just kind of walk us through the proposal? Any additional details?
So the map was to orient you on where it is. As he said, it is right next to the Benton County Recycling. The property is I-1. So I-1 properties have some requirements that go with that. The maximum lot size is 5/1. This property is just over 3 acres, so it meets that requirement. All activities must be carried on within the buildings with no outside storage of raw materials, and shall employ a maximum of 30 people. So we do need to confirm that. So if we could get confirmation from that, that is a question that we were not able to answer. They shall have a maximum of 100 vehicle trips per peak hours, shall have no discernible odor or vibration beyond the building walls, and no discernible noise beyond the lot lines. We don't see any issues with that as there's no retail component to this. They shall have a continuous visual buffer such as landscaping, berms, fencing, walls, etc., located no less than 10 feet from the lot lines, which there will be a fence and trees on the south property line, and existing trees and fence on the east, which we believe meets the intent of the code. And on the east side, they are bordered by the Benton County Recycling, which is a heavier industrial use, and there's a screening fence on the north side. And then they also, no toxic gases or chemicals shall be used or produced, which they also. So as they said, the use is a business, office, or warehouse for a home construction improvement company. They are dedicating a right-of-way and an easement, which they have provided a separate plat for that, which will be the item after this. There will be some street improvements. The project has about 200 feet, and they are providing a fee in lieu of, which has been accepted. There are 15 parking spaces that have been provided. The International Parking Code typically requires that any partial number be rounded up, but the warehouse rounds up to like 15.03. So since it's so close, staff is recommending that 15 be sufficient. On this plan, as you can see in the lower section, there is a floodplain on the lower portion of this from the Little Osage Creek. We got a floodplain permit on the 17th, so we are reviewing that. And if we could go, there's no site lighting at the entry. So the consideration would be whether we might want to look at whether site lighting might want to be a requirement at the entry. If we could go to the next page. There are several existing trees, and we've been able to minimize the amount of grading underneath them, but there is some grading. So planning has recommended that they work with an arborist to see what can be done in order to ensure that the trees are able to be preserved. Next page, please. So there are going to be additional trees installed. The double row of trees, as I mentioned, will help be a visual buffer on the south side, and then some additional trees in the center. There is an existing well on site that is going to be abandoned. There are very minor comments that are remaining, pretty much all just remain applying to the right-of-way easement dedication plat. So.
Thanks, Donna. Tim, can you confirm the two things that were in question? One with the activities within the building, and then the second one, the maximum of 30 people?
Yes, and I'd like to, Jeff, if I could just kind of go through several of those comments. As far as the number of employees, Greg has 12 employees. And this also speaks to the parking. He's got about, some of the employees come to that building in the morning, leave their car, get in a work truck, maybe pull a trailer, go to the job site. it's about half and half, those that go to the office versus those that drive their personal vehicles to their job sites. So we feel like we've got more than adequate parking, but he's got 12 employees currently. The operations internally are, again, warehouse, shop area, and a small office. Greg does not really have any customers that necessarily come to his office as part of doing business. He works for other builders as a subcontractor, and you know, he may on occasion have somebody that does some railing on their home that would need to go to his office, but that's a rarity. With regard to what you had the employees, and then you had another one, Jeff.
The activities carried within the buildings.
Okay, so I think, unless you've got any other questions about what goes on in the building, I can let Greg speak to that if you'd like.
Well, the plan is not to store anything outside. Is that correct?
That is correct. He's got a covered outside area that they will use as a dock, as well as if they need to load a waste container so it can be picked up and hauled off. But basically all activities on site happen within the building.
Okay.
Okay. The other items that I'd like to speak to, one is in regard to the fencing. The plans actually show a fence and gate along the front with the trees. That fence, the legend actually calls it out as chain link, but Greg would really like to do something that looks a little nicer there. And I told him I don't think that the city would have a problem with him using a better looking product than a chain link. So I just wanted to be clear, because we did have that on the plans in the legend. And I don't want him restricted to provide a chain link there if he wants to do a pipe rail or something like that. The next item is the question regarding lighting at the entry. We don't have any proposed lighting on the site. You know, ultimately, if we propose lighting, we have to have it shielded, and we don't want the lighting on neighbors. So at some point, I'm kind of in a quandary over whether or not we're wanting lights or not wanting lights. I understand we need to provide safety, but we do have a power pole there close to the entry. And if that is determined to be needed, because quite frankly, the only time that he'll have any coming and going after dark would be just in the winter months, then Greg could reach out to the electric company to provide a light there on that pole. The next item I wanted to deal with were the comments regarding the trees. We've been asked several times by staff to protect the tree on the north property line. There's been some comments regarding the retaining wall that has to be built. They're about 5 feet off the north property line. That tree is actually about a 12-inch wild cherry. I don't know that we could actually kill it if we tried, but in providing the screening fence, that tree's going. And Greg has actually talked to his neighbor to the north, and the neighbor has no desire to keep the wild cherry tree. So as far as that particular tree, the plans are that it gets removed when we build the screening fence. With regard to all the other trees, we have tried to design the site in such a manner as to allow for that existing vegetated buffer along that primary drainage way on our west to remain. The trees that are showing are not all the trees that are there. There's a substantial green buffer along the perimeter there to our west. If y'all have been down Brookside, you know what I'm talking about, right there by that big drainage way. We're endeavoring to try to keep those trees. We don't want to lose them, but in the same token, we're really not planning on paying an arborist to come out and tell us how to either regrade the site or put up a retaining wall to try to save the trees. We're going to try to save them. Hopefully we can do that, but unless it ends up being a requirement of the approval of the large scale that's the extent of what we're planning for. And again, I would like to remind the Planning Commission, I don't know that it really matters, but there was a much more intensive development plan that was approved previously for the site, and pretty much everything went away. I think that's it on trees. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up is the well that's indicated actually has already been abandoned. The issue is the grade of the well and the casing, and whether or not that area has to be lowered. So it already went through the process of being taken out per the state requirements. And Ken's saying that we've actually provided that information to planning. So I think that's got it. Unless y'all have any questions or things that I could answer for you, be happy to do so.
I would just say in regards, to the trees, if you happen to take a few extra out of whether it be the north or the west, we would certainly encourage you to put an extra tree up front or something, when available, and would definitely be something that we would prefer. I'm on the fence on the lighting because there's no retail, and I would entertain, any comments from any of the other commissioners in regards to the lighting, at the entrance, since it's just a kind of I'll call it a storage in a workshop area. But I would entertain, what the other commissioners are thinking from that perspective.
Jeff, this is John. That's the one I had a question about as well. Certainly want to entertain everyone else's opinion. I was more concerned about the traffic along Brookside during the hours of darkness when we're bringing in trailers and containers in and out, whether or not it could be seen visibly, especially with the trees that are going to be on that south side, whether or not there's enough visibility for traffic along Brookside to see traffic coming in and out.
Nicole, can you show me, or whoever's driving right now, can you show me where that actual electric pole's at? Is that where your hand's at?
It wasn't letting me use space bar, and I had to move my mouse to unmute. So I believe the pole is right here. Is that right, Tim?
Yes, that is correct. That's where the electric pole is. And again, we're happy to look at that. Greg doesn't want a dangerous situation on his drive. And I don't know that you don't get deliveries real early or late, and we got winter months. But guys, I'm going to just say this. It's just me being who I am. They race Mulholland Drive at night for a reason, because you can see the headlights coming. So at some point, if we're worried about the dark and deliveries and stuff like that, that street light's not helping. If there's pedestrians walking up and down there, because we eventually have street improvements and sidewalk, now that's a different issue. But if we're trying to really light up that entry, I don't know that you're solving anything with requiring a light, just because at night you're going to see all the lights. They're going to shine brighter that you got a truck there. But again, we're happy. I don't want to be argumentative by any means. And if it's desired and y'all feel like it's a safety issue, and quite frankly, I haven't looked at the sight distance necessarily. I know that's down in the bottom. I would assume that you've got pretty good, decent sight distance coming down either way in front of from the east and the west. But I hadn't been on that road in a long time. But anyway, I'm sure Greg would be happy to talk to the electric company if that's what y'all would like him to do.
Also, our gate's far enough that a truck can pull in. Off the road.
Greg was just saying, I don't know if you heard that. We intentionally set the gates back into the property so that we give any trucks and trailers enough room to get fully off the road before they try to get out and operate that gate. And that was very intentional, both for his own crews and when they do have deliveries. Greg's not really interested in trying to security fence this because, at some point his comment to me earlier was, who's gonna try to steal a bunch of insulation and carry it out to the road, you know, so it's not like we need a security fence. So he's trying to doll that up. But again, if y'all have a true concern about the lighting, I'm happy to listen and do what we need to do.
What, I haven't driven that road since I haven't been going anywhere, but what's the ditch like on that, along the roadway? Is it?
So right now, there was an old drive that went into that property with a, I don't know, it was a small culvert. You know, Rick might know what size it was, but I think it kept washing out. Ultimately, I believe the street department took it out because it was just causing problems with maintenance. And so right now it's a pretty deep and ragged ditch in places. What we have on the plans though is we're replacing that ditch with twin 42-inch pipes, I believe, with head walls on either end. So the ditch along our frontage will go away other than right there at the southeast corner where I have to accept the water coming onto us from the east. And then on the southwest corner, it discharges right there by the bridge. So the ditch along our frontage goes away other than in the southeast corner.
Okay.
This is Lorraine. I would like to say, I've kind of been driving through there. Patterson's usually have a light on, and I don't know that that's, I noticed right off that you were putting in a different drive into the property. So I don't know that it's that important to have it at this time, but during the winter months, they may find that they need so. And so then I recommend that at that time they, relook at that. I do want to also, a couple of other things. Is it possible if you're taking out the trees in the back, the buffer between Byron Pierce's property and this industrial type use, if there was a way, I know you're doing a fence, but is there a way to maybe move that retaining wall and do some plantings of evergreen type trees in that area, just something to give a little break from just seeing a building?
So Lorraine, what we're trying to do there, and again, Greg's talked to his neighbor to the north, and as far as the trees we're removing, it's one 12-inch wild cherry tree. I mean, we could make a nice desk out of it maybe, but sorry, Zoom just lets me do stuff I probably shouldn't do. But right there, the topography is such that we're right on the nose, Lorraine, of kind of that hill coming down from the north.
Yeah.
And so that retaining wall is 5 feet off of the property line to the south. So to get that rear area is flattened out so that Greg can park a trailer back in there behind the building and it be out of sight.
Okay.
Okay, so I can't lose any space back there, or I can't utilize that area. What I do have is that 5-foot area to work with. If you would prefer maybe some evergreens rather than the screening fence, then we could talk to the property owner about possibly planting some evergreen trees along that property line as opposed to doing the screening fence. But I don't have room, no, to answer your question, I don't have room really on my side of that to incorporate a healthy area to grow some substantial trees.
Okay, and what exactly is your screening fence? Is it with the webbing? Is it chain link with webbing, or what is?
No, that screening fence is a wood screening fence that goes past either end of the building. I don't think Ken has it running the entire length of the property. I think he stops it basically from pavement to pavement is where he's got it running. And again, that's an attempt to stop the fence before we get into the trees on the west and have to get in and really disturb them. And that's about, I think that wall's about 4 foot tall, 4 and a half at the worst, something like that. So the building sits down below the adjacent grade. So with the fence up on the property line, you're really providing a great deal of screening for that building.
Okay, and what's your distance between the wall and the building? I'm not on, let's see, I'm not on that plan.
We've
Okay.
got
30.
We've got 25 feet, I believe, to the wall, or 22 feet, something like that. And we've got 31 from the building to the property line. Or almost 32, 31.8 at one corner and 31.2 at another. And there's 7 feet between the back of the retaining wall and the fence. Or the property line, sorry.
But we could plan.
Yeah, we could plant a row of evergreens there above the wall, but I would want to kind of do that because that's a keystone block wall, and I'd like to get those trees just right on the property line, and then I think they could perform really well. But I think here's my suggestion: it's kind of an either or that I would propose, and I would like the existing adjacent property owner to kind of get an end product that he would like. So Greg's got a good working relationship with him, and we're really kind of happy to do whichever.
Hey, Tim, can I weigh in on a couple things?
Absolutely.
First, the flooding issue that was there was primarily caused with the water coming from the north, and it was crossing over those culverts and all that was along that road initially. Since we've taken those out and opened up that ditch, and with what you're doing with your development and those twin pipes in the front, the flooding issue should virtually be eliminated there on Brookside Road. Secondly, the light, we had a light in that area a couple of years ago, and a few of y'all remember when you would come down Brookside from the east, it was down the hill and it was right in your eyes. It would blind you. So I cautioned you about putting any light there. It would have to be shaded or something to keep from blinding the public again. And one thing else, the trees 10 years ago when I started, that lot was being bush hogged. Most of those trees are very young and are fast producers like your cherry. That's a wild cherry tree. It grows extremely quick. I think putting something back of a better quality may be better. A lot of what you're talking about is just scrub trees there anyway, but that's just my opinion.
Jeff, there is also a hand raised, and I believe it's an adjacent property owner, Jay Patterson, if you'd like to take their comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, Mr. or Mrs. Patterson.
Can you hear us?
There you go.
Yes, we can.
2 things. Okay, first of all, the lighting, no thank you. When it was at the recycle plant, we struggled with it being in the bedroom lights at night, and it was just not conducive to good night's sleep. And second of all, if y'all are going to put the double culverts all the way down, how are you going to protect our water rights on that corner water that's ours?
So before we get too far, can you state your name just and address just so that our recorder has that information?
Yes, I'm sorry, Judy Patterson. And we're at 5811 Brookside Road.
Thank you. Rick, do you want to address the water? Or do you understand the question?
I think the water's still going in the same place. They're just stopping it before it gets to the road and directing it to the creek, Ms. Patterson. Where the water was topping over the road, crossing and going down the ditch on your side of the road, now will be directed to the creek on the north side of the road. Everything was coming down and crossing those driveways and overtopping those small culverts before. I think really what he's going to be doing is going to improve your water retention and collection, and will be better for the road and for your property too.
Okay, that's not what we're looking at. We have water rights. There's a 15-foot triangle on the north side of the road, on the east side of the creek.
North
and
of the pole.
north of the pole.
Pole,
And it runs under the
under the highway.
under the road, and that we own those water rights. And if you guys put 2 42-inch pipes in there, you're going to just decimate our water rights right there.
The top of that 12-inch culvert is exposed or is real close. The maintainer has in times past poked a hole in that thing, which we've repaired since then. So that kind of gives you an idea of how close to at the bottom of the ditch that aqueduct is. So if you put a 42-inch culvert in there, there's no way without just moving a bunch of dirt whether that would work. In times past, that problem was alleviated because there was a retention pond that would be up there in the
North side.
recycling center. And by the way, I own that 40
North side.
on the
just
north
tell 'em.
on the north side. I owned that property, so I'm pretty familiar with it. When it came a big rain, that retention pond, which consisted of nothing more than just a farmer retention pond, consisted of a bunch of rock. Well, when the planning commission okayed that, I guess, the removal of those rocks, then that water would actually back up plumb over to the north side of that, what was then the 40 acres. And so that's what's exasperated that whole problem, is that retention pond was removed. And then in addition to that, the retention pond over there on the east side of the recycling center, that was removed as well. So when those two things was removed, that's when the problems occurred.
Yeah, but this is our water rights, right? Right in here where they've got this little.
Wherever the electric pole is where that aqueduct runs
Judy.
due east.
Yes.
This is Lorraine. The 12-inch pipe that comes from the stream, and then it goes to the drain and then to your property, that is remaining from what I see.
Yes, ma'am.
The pipes
How are
that
they gonna put- how are they?
the pipes
The
they
only,
are
the only way that could remain,
Go ahead.
no, I'm looking at the elevations, and Tim would probably have to answer that, but I'm assuming that the elevations of the pipes will be different.
Ms. Patterson, I actually brought that to Tim's attention on the first review, and I think he's made arrangements for that. And Tim, you need to address that, but that was one of my first comments, that you needed to address that. And I think you did as we went along, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Rick, actually, and I mean, there's several questions here. One, the Pattersons have really kind of sold the property that this water serves, but this water pipe that we're talking about, the 12-inch, actually serves the old minnow ponds and fish ponds. It is very shallow. To accommodate the stormwater that we've had to accommodate and also provide cover on the pipes, the existing pipes are much deeper than originally designed. And actually there is ever so slightly enough clearance between our pipes and that 12-inch line. So we did get it to work out. That 12-inch line can stay. I'm not telling you for a minute that 12-inch line won't get broken during construction, but if it gets broken, it can get replaced and repaired as soon as the 42s go in the hole. So we will either maintain it through construction or repair it if it gets damaged. But there is clearance between the existing 12-inch and our 42s.
Yes, ma'am.
That-
I knew there, and I was making sure he knew it from the beginning, so we were trying to take care of it for you.
Right. You know, long.
I'm not an
long-term-
engineer.
Go ahead.
I'm not an engineer, but the way it stands right now, that 42-inch line would need to go underneath the existing 12-inch aqueduct. Is that what you're saying then? Is that 42-inch line will go underneath the existing aqueduct?
That is correct.
And then, okay, that makes sense. Okay,
Okay. Happy with
I'm
that?
happy with that. Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you, guys. And understand that any lighting that gets proposed must remain within the parcel, if you will. And so there shouldn't be any light that would be directly impact you. So understand that whenever we consider this plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, so
Thank you.
any of the other commissioners have any questions or comments or even concerns in regards to the plan?
This is Joey. I'm good. Jeff, I think you hit the nail on the head. No retail. I'm not sure there's a need for a light there. And then as far as I'm concerned, I would think a fence in the back being elevated 4 feet high, that'd be 10 feet higher than the finished floor of the building. I think that would be a nice screening, but that's up for everybody to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could ultimately leave that open pending conversation with the adjacent landowner, right? I mean, we could leave it that way, you know.
Yeah,
with an
I think
agreement.
that's fair.
I think we could certainly approve it that way, and then, you know, allow the developer, you know, to make that decision, but just share back with planning so that we would have, you know, a record of it in case it came up, you know, in the future based on what the requirements are for the development.
I think maybe a little letter might work for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, that'd be fine.
Can I ask real quick, who was responding to Rick about the drainage pipes? Was that Tim or was that?
That was
that Ken?
Tim
Okay, Tim.
and Sam Crane. Sam
Okay.
Crane.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
You bet.
Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
Did you guys want to consider the length of the fence? I think Tim was saying that right now it's just being proposed the length of the building. I think the code is a little bit ambiguous. It just says a continuous visual buffer such as landscaping, berms, fencing, walls, etc., shall be located no less than 10 feet from the lot line.
Well, the plans say 270 feet. I can't really tell where it stops because it's right on top of the property line.
Yeah, it looks like it goes pavement to pavement, the edge of the pavement. If my eyes.
Yes, it basically extends from even with the west edge of pavement, if you extend that west edge of pavement north, and then if you go over to the east side, you can see the drive on the east side of the building. And if you extended that edge of pavement north, that's about the extent of it, I believe. And yes, it's hard to see, but it's right in there with the property line.
So I think we should be sufficient with that, because that would also try to keep those trees that are in, is that the northwest corner?
Yes.
Yep.
Does that work, Nicole?
I think so. I just wanted to make sure that was clarified based on your guys' recommendation to work it out with the adjacent owner.
Yeah, I do think that the plans, this is Lorraine, that maybe the plans could show better where that fence ends and begins. I can see the little circles. And then I know that on the east side, we weren't worried so much about it because it is I-2. The only place that really has a gap is around the septic area. And I don't know how many feet that is. I don't have the one that really.
Yeah, and I know we said letter and that's probably okay, but
Yeah.
would it
We
make
can-
sense, Tim, just to update this and provide it back to us once you guys reach your decision with the adjacent owner so that it would be a little more clear in regards to that landscaping to the north?
Okay.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do that. I'll let Greg talk to the owner, and if we need to change it from the screening fence to show evergreens, we'd be happy to make that change.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments from any of the commissioners?
Just to be clear, y'all are right with us doing some other more decorative type fence up front?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
No, we want it ugly, Tim.
I just wanted to be clear. I don't want to assume anything.
Okay.
Lorraine would be even more excited if you put, trees around it or something like that. So careful, Tim, what you're asking.
I would imagine Glenn and Judy probably would be happy with a pretty fence too, or nicer
Yeah.
fence.
Yes.
Hey, can we
All right.
transplant that cherry up front by the gate?
Joey Engel, would you please just give me a break?
I think we should make a table for the office if that's the case,
I'm smoking some barbecue with that thing.
All right, if there's no other comments, then I would entertain a motion for development 20-03, the Woods Commercial Development, which again is at 5830 Brookside Road, and it is I-1.
Joey, I'll make a motion to approve development 2003 Woods Commercial Property.
Devin, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, thank you, Tim and team. All right, next on the agenda this evening, I believe, is Tim as well. This is MP 20-01 Woods right-of-way and easement plat. Again, it's at 5830 Brookside Road, and it is still I-1.
Yep, this, would you like to discuss this one, Tim?
Yeah, I can if you would like. Basically with this, because of the future master street plan, there's a right-of-way dedication that needs to occur. We kind of have been around the rose bush a little bit over the dimensions on that, but this is actually the dimension that is now going to be showing up on your hopefully future accepted master street plan. In addition to that 40-foot right-of-way dedication, there's an additional 25-foot utility easement that is being dedicated to also cover the existing water line that's out there. We've got also those storm sewer lines. Actually, storm sewer lines fall within the right of way. And then there's I guess an additional water line easement for Centerton Water that angles up to the northwest that was located in the field, and there wasn't a good easement on that line. And so this is actually dedicating off a good easement for where it is located. There's a couple of existing easements shown on this plat as well. There's an old ingress egress easement on the southeast corner, 30 by 60, that goes over to the county property. That was there, as far as I can tell, for the old adjoining property owners to share the drives, basically. And really, it doesn't need to be there anymore, but nobody's pursued vacating it. The county facility is surrounded with chain link fence. So, and then there's an old easement that exists on the northwest side for allowing the neighbor to the north to access the water for his cattle. That easement actually has been, I'm not sure it's been officially abandoned, but the rights to that easement were paid for by the previous property owner. We just don't have any recording of that. So we're leaving that easement in place. And actually Greg has told his property owner to the north that it doesn't matter to him if there's an easement there or not. He can take his cows down there and get them water if he needs to. So we will probably try to produce that old easement or find it. If it hasn't been filed for record, I've advised Greg to go ahead and file it regardless of his agreement today with his property owner. But if he ever wanted to sell that property, the future buyer may not want it. But anyway, that's the purpose for this plat, is just to take care of cleaning some of that stuff up and dedicating the required right of way.
Don, I noticed that either John or Rick had some comments, but I didn't see them. Have they been cleaned up or taken care of?
I was asking for the additional right of way based on the future master street plan, and he did that. Thank you, Tim.
You bet.
Yeah. So I was actually able to find the deed for the existing 12-foot access easement, so I can send you that.
We've got the easement. What I was referring to is there's an agreement that abandoned it, and I don't know that that's ever been filed. So
Gotcha.
yeah, we'll take care of that. Don't worry about it, because it doesn't really affect this. This can be filed as it is. If it has been abandoned, we'll take care of it with our neighbor at a later date. Okay?
Okay. He largely covered it. The 40-foot right-of-way is per the proposed master street plan. The 25-foot easement covers the water line, as well as future franchise utilities that might need to come in after the road is expanded, that are locating after the road is built. And as he said, the water line that is existing now that comes up into the property was put in without a utility easement, so they are dedicating an easement to cover it. So that largely covers it. This one's a short, simple one.
Any comments, questions, concerns from any of the commissioners?
Now, are we acting on this as a separate item compared to the large scale?
Yes, that's my understanding.
It is a separate plan. It does have a separate number in the planning system, and this one is going to be recorded and the other one will not.
Gotcha.
And
Planning comment, all comments relating to this one are minor.
Jeff, can we make a motion?
Yes.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve MP 2001 Woods right-of-way packet.
This is Tiffany, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, thanks, Tim.
you bet. Thank you all.
All right, next on the agenda this evening is track splits 20-10. This is for the Bentonville School District number 6. This is the Grimsley Junior High property, track 1. Looks like 27.44 acres, and track 2 at 48.41 acres. Is, let's see, Paul going to give us just an overview of what they want to do, or Don, are you going to cover it?
Paul is here, but his hand is not raised. So Larry is here.
All right, Larry, you just want to give us a quick overview?
Am I in? All right.
You'll have to turn your volume down though, because we're getting a lot of feedback.
Okay, is that better?
Perfect.
All right. Yeah, this is Larry Grelly with Morrison Shipley Engineers, representing the Bentonville School District. And as you said, they are proposing to split their 80-acre tract, which is located at the northwest corner of North Vaughn Road and Holloway Road, into 2 parcels. And tract 1 is approximately 27 acres, and the location of the newly constructed Grimsley Junior High School, which has access to both North Vaughn Road and Holloway Road. Tract 2 is approximately 48 acres and is currently undeveloped, and it will only have access, I guess, to Holloway Road. So the plat will also provide utility easement dedications for water, sanitary sewer, and electric, as well as right-of-way dedications along the east side of North Vaughn Road and along the north side of Holloway Road to meet the requirements of the city's master street plan. Not really sure what else there might be, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thanks, Larry. Donna, do you want to go ahead and just give us a quick anything additional?
Sure. We did get another set of plats at about 4:30 today, so I've not had a chance to review those. So I will be giving you this presentation based on the last set of plans we received. So this is a place of public assembly. The setbacks and such are based on the use rather than the zoning. The right-of-way is, we are getting right-of-way dedication, 10 foot along North Vaughn Road and 40 foot, it's a variable right-of-way dedication along Holloway. 40 foot of right-of-way on the west property line, up to 43 foot of right-of-way on the east when it gets up to tract 2. For places of public assembly, there is a maximum height of 35 feet, and setback requirements are a minimum of 35 feet from all property lines, and from 35 feet from the planning right-of-way. There are several utility easements, as are shown here. They're electrical, water, and sewer, and these are being dedicated. There are existing electrical lines along the north property line. And we have requested a general utility easement along Holloway and Vaughn. As he stated, there is access to both Holloway and Vaughn. And staff finds the plat to be in conformance with the municipal code, contingent on remaining staff comments, which are general and minor in nature.
Thanks, Donna. Any questions, comments, or concerns from any of the commissioners? If not, then I would entertain a motion for tract split 2010 Bentonville School District number 6, the Grimsley Junior High property, which again will be divided into 2 tracts.
I believe there is one person that does have their hand up, that I'm assuming would like to speak on this project.
Okay, whoever from the public, I guess, wishes to speak, if you could just state your name and address and then your question or concern. Go ahead.
Okay, the person that called in via telephone, you are free to speak.
Are you there? Person from the public who wishes to speak, are you there? Can you mute your microphone or your, I guess, audio, please? And then is there someone from the public who wishes to speak?
She was there briefly.
Diana, is she still there?
Yes, she is still there and still unmuted. So I'm not sure what the technical issue is.
Did she call in or was she virtual? I can't see that.
Like a phone call.
There's a call in. Are you still there? Call in person. I muted you and unmuted you, hoping maybe that would help.
Yeah, the person that called in, are you there and available to speak? Yeah, I don't know what else we can do. If she does happen to call back in, or if we can hear her, then we can certainly, entertain her question at that time. But I do think that we've tried at least 3 times to communicate, and that I'm not able to.
You are muted.
Jeff, it may be that the person has muted their phone and their Zoom and on double mute. So if you're listening, maybe you're double muted.
You are unmuted.
The phone number is ending in 107. I'm wondering if it's an accident.
Sounds like they're listening to the conversation or listening to the meeting and also on their phone. So that's why they're getting so much feedback every time they go off mute. As somebody who's on Zoom meetings all day.
Yeah, if you are listening or via the phone and then your computer, maybe you can turn the volume down on your computer as you try to talk to us, or unmute, and then maybe we can hear you. Or if you are on the Zoom meeting, there is a Q&A option that's down at the bottom. If we can't hear you, if you go to the Q&A section, I do believe that you could type a question and then we could communicate that way.
The host will be informed that you would like to speak.
Alternatively, we can actually hear what's going on if you would like to just talk.
Hey, Nicole.
Yes, Larry.
Hey, this is Larry. I was wanting to add something to the requirements that were stated on the plan.
I'm sorry, we're getting feedback. I'm going to try to, I muted the other one. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There was a comment made about asking for a general utility easement along Vaughn and Holloway. So we looked at it and providing a 15-foot utility easement along the north side of Holloway. But as far as Vaughn Road, there's already a 30-foot gas line easement coming off the right of way. And anything on top of that would basically put a utility through the main parking lot and through the detention pond. I talked to Frank about that. There will not be any reason to be running, extending water or sanitary sewer through there. So he didn't feel like there was any reason to add another easement along Vaughn. So I just wanted to make sure that was brought up.
Thank you, Larry. Donna, do you know if you got any of those comments back from Frank? Did we
When
lose
we had
Don?
discussed it before, we had discussed about overlaying on top of the existing easement, not adding an additional easement. In discussions with Frank.
Okay. Well, I think that would definitely be one of the cleanup items. You know, if we approve this tonight, that'd be one of the cleanup items for, you know, Frank and Larry and your, I guess yourself to clean that up. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Larry.
We'll look at that. I'll see what the gas easement requirements are. We have that document, so we can review that and make sure that they're okay with it. Seemed like Frank would he kind of agreed that anything like fiber or something like that could be put in the gas easement. He's seen that before.
Right. We've worked with the gas company recently, and we've created a dedication statement jointly with them. So.
Okay.
All right. I do want to give the person that was trying to communicate with us one more opportunity before we move on. So I don't know, Diane or Nicole, if that person's still there and available, if we want to try to communicate with them one more time.
They are still there and they are unmuted. So let's see if technology works this time.
Thank you. So the person that's trying to communicate with us, can you, if you're unmuted and available to speak, can you let us know? And then, you know, we would ask that you give us your name and your address so that we can have that for the record. And again, if you're not able to communicate either via the phone or computer audio, I would offer up the option from a Q&A perspective. Again, on your screen, there should be a Q&A opportunity or option, I guess, to select that, and then you can type your note, and the staff can respond to that as well. Well, unfortunately, I don't think that we're going to be able to communicate at this time, so I'm going to go ahead and continue with the meeting. If that person is able to communicate, you know, if someone from the staff will just let me know, and or Todd, maybe if they pop in a question on the Q&A, then we can go back and we can talk to the individual. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the meeting. If there's no additional comments or questions or concerns from any of the commissioners, then I would entertain a motion for the track split 2010 with the Bentonville School District.
This is Tiffany. I'll make a motion to approve track split 20-10 Bentonville School District number 6.
This is Craig, I second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, thanks, Larry. All right, next on the agenda this evening is subdivision 1919. This is the Bliss Street Twin Homes. This is a preliminary plat and plans. Again, this is at 864 Bliss Street. It is RTHD. There's 46 lots on 7.98 acres. So it looks like, Christian, are you on to give us an overview?
Christian is out of the office. This is Brett Watts with Bates and Associates.
Okay, was it Brett?
Brett, B-R-E-T-T.
Okay, go ahead, Brett.
All right, what you have in front of you is preliminary plat for the Twin Homes subdivision on Bliss Street. We're dedicating right of way on Bliss Street and Gamble Road per the master street plan. And as stated in the report, we have 2 variances that we're requesting. One being for the reduction or the reduction in sidewalk width or the driveway width, and also using plastic pipe instead of high density plastic pipe instead of reinforced concrete pipe in paved areas. And if there are any questions, I'll be here to answer them.
All right, thanks, Brett. Let's see, Donna, do you want to go ahead and give us an overview from staff on this one?
Sure. Their waiver request, it's not a variance. So the first waiver request is for the maximum width of driveways exceeding lot widths, and staff has gone through and reviewed them. The lots that they're requesting the waivers on are on radiuses. They do meet the 80% minimum lot widths. If we could go to the next page. So we've gone through and checked them. There are 2 lots where there is a slight conflict between the lots or between the driveways and the areas where the utilities will be, but they're only in the green space areas where there would be fire hydrants, and there are no fire hydrants in this area. So all of the departments either support this request or have no comment. The other waiver request is for the requirement for reinforced concrete pipe. And again, all departments either support this request or have no comment. So, as was stated, this is a redesign from a project you have seen before on 421. So this has been a slight reduction in the number of lots. The detention pond was relocated to the east side. And the interior street design is a loop with 2 street connections proposed onto Bliss Street, with the East Street aligning onto Sun Meadows Drive, 30-foot back of curb. There's a fire access onto Gamble, 20-foot reinforced sod fire lane. The apron is concrete where it connects onto Gamble, a mountable curb on each end. Fire lane signage is proposed at each end of the street. Right of way 30-foot is being dedicated on Bliss and Gamble. Adjacent street improvements, 5-foot of sidewalk is proposed along Bliss and Gamble with existing pavement width being maintained. Curb and gutter currently exist along both streets. The existing concrete drainage swale north of Bliss Street is being filled in, and the storm system will connect to a new 13 by 16-foot curb inlet where 4 existing 36-inch CMPs cross beneath Bliss Street at the request of Public Works. So on drainage, the previous drainage issues that we had on the last submittal have been fixed. The detention lot was relocated to the western boundary property line, and previous issues with utility easement and maintainable area have been resolved. And the previous issues on the north rear lots with the grading have also been fixed.
Donna, this is Joey. Do we get a full set of plans and a full review? I'm only seeing, I guess, the plat sheet, and then I don't see any comments from any other departments.
We did. We've actually have gotten all of the comments resolved.
All right. Don't see that too often.
I might give a woohoo for that. Holy cow. Are there any questions or comments or even concerns from any of the commissioners? My only question was who's responsible for maintaining the reinforced sod fire lane? Is that written anywhere, or who's responsible for that?
This is Jeff Bates, Bates and Associates. I think we'll just add that into the POA covenants when we do the final plat. The POA will have to be responsible to maintain it, just like they did the detention pond.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. I'm assuming in the in there you'll also put what the potential landscape requirements would be in regards to any trees or anything in any of the yards.
Yeah, that all comes with the final plat and the covenants of the subdivision after it's built.
Okay. If
What's
there
going on
are
with the what's
Oh,
going
go
on
ahead.
with the wetlands in the back of 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23?
What's your question exactly?
What are you gonna do with the wetlands? Are we just gonna leave them?
They're not like FEMA determined wetlands. I'm not sure exactly. They're not a regulated wetland area, I guess is what I'm saying.
Do you have that determination from FEMA? Or the Corps?
No, I do not. But I mean, we'd have to hire a geologist to come out there and study it. It's
Right, you'd have to do a delineation and then get them to come look at it.
right, exactly. But this is not, we've been doing this for 30-something years, and that's not a typical wetland area at all.
Yeah, I know a lot of farm ponds even get picked up on that, and it's kind of
Exactly.
bogus sometimes. I was just asking the question.
Yep, thank you very much, because that's exactly what it was.
All right. If there are no other questions, comments, or concerns, I would entertain a motion for the subdivision 1919, the Bliss Street Twin Homes preliminary plat and plans.
I'll make a motion to approve subdivision 19-19 Bliss Street, Twin Homes, preliminary plat and plans.
Do we want to approve the waivers as well?
Oh, and sorry, and also approve the waivers therewith.
This is
Just
Joey,
Craig,
I'll
I'll
second
second.
that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, Brett, thank you. And I know Christian took the feedback from the first meeting, so I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda this evening is subdivision 20-06 Annika Estates, preliminary plat and plans. This is on Holloway Road. This is R3, 139 single family lots, 40 acres. And it looks like either Kevin or Patrick, maybe from the development perspective, to give us an overview.
Hey, this is Patrick Foy with Morrison Shipley. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just want to make sure you could hear me. Okay, so we're proposing a 140 lot subdivision total. We'd like to phase it, phase one, phase two. Phase one will be a total of 72 lots. We're proposing to dedicate all required utility easements within the subdivision and then along the south side of Holloway. I've worked with the fire chief with this the phasing and to meet the diagonal rule. We're proposing to put in the base for Whistle Street, which is shown on the east side of the subdivision, to give them fire access to throughout phase one. And then for drainage, we've got 2 detention ponds, one at the northeast, one at the southwest corner to mitigate any increased flows. We've also worked with the city engineer and Public Works on a fee in lieu of improvements to Holloway Road. Based off the last comments I've seen, they approved what we had. But in general, that's a quick overview. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
All right, thanks, Patrick. Donna, this is you again.
Yep, I have a lot tonight. All right, so like you said, that there is 2 phases to this project. Generally, there is some emergency access, which fire would like the north side of Trestle Lane. Sorry, that was a little hard to read. To be added to that, which I believe I sent comments to that. If I did not, I will send shortly. There is an adjacent street agreement that has been provided. There is a little bit of mystery to that. It has not been accepted yet. The approved signed current master street plan that we have does not show the 30-foot proposed collector on its document, but our data does. So we are trying to figure out where the disconnect is and before it is accepted. So we do not want to approve the adjacent street agreement until we figure out what's going on with that. We do have requested a 20-foot general utility easement be added adjacent to the south side of Holloway Road, as well as the interior streets, and along the southern property line of the Tract B detention pond. There's also various detention easements between the ponds, or between the various lots connecting to the pond. The interior streets are the standard 30-foot back of curb. The parcel has frontage along Holloway Road, and there is an existing water line to the north of Holloway and existing sewer at the southeast corner. A wetlands scientist has been engaged to prepare a formal jurisdictional determination and subsequent 404 permitting with the USACE. If we could go to the next page. So this is a preliminary wetlands report. You can see an approximate boundary of the wetland buffer on this report. So there are some areas of the wetland that are adjacent to it. So we would like to get this formal report before construction starts, preferably. And if we could go to the next page. One of the items that we would like to get resolved is the maintainable area, because it goes down to about 5 foot, and we have a requirement that it be 10 foot. But that is one of the comments that we still have remaining.
Hey, Patrick, this is Joey. On the detention pond, I just want to be fair. We've been pretty amenable in the past on this requirement because it is an old requirement when the city was maintaining ponds. This will obviously not be a city maintained pond. If you think you can hit that requirement, great. If not, right now is your time to talk about it.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest or ask if we could go ahead and just get a waiver on it. We're showing 4-to-1 slopes and we're gonna have a 5-foot flat spot at the top of that basin. That should be more than enough to get a tractor or anything that's gonna maintain that pond around it.
With
Uh,
today's, with today's improvement in equipment, it's not necessary to have that huge maintainable area.
Right. So, looking at, we looked at it, I don't think we can get 10 feet. I mean, looking at what's on the screen now, there's maybe 3 feet we can get, so we're at 8.
I mean,
I would just go-
frankly, what you're proposing with the 4-to-1 and a 5-foot and 10-foot in some areas, that's more than we get in most places.
Right.
I would support the waiver.
I will make a note that that Patrick asked for a waiver, even though it's not part of our packet. I'll make a note when we consider the motion.
Thank you.
Donna, anything else?
Various cleanup notes. We do have some remaining comments, but nothing that is significant enough to hold things up.
So I made a note, and let me know if this would be acceptable, that since there are some questions in regards to the adjacent street improvements, we could approve this in one of two ways. We could approve it in the fact that it could come back to us for an approval in the future under old business, or we could approve it so that it could be approved with an agreed upon amount by staff. So I don't know, Lorraine or Rick, if there's, one way or the other that you guys would prefer, just let me know, and then we can, proceed on one of two ways in regards to that.
I think typically we bring it back to you all so that there's documentation of what's agreed upon.
Perfect.
That's fine with me. It's really just a difference of $40,000 fee in lieu of, or a donation to the city as property. So it would be easy to bring back to y'all.
Okay. So in regards to the adjacent street improvement agreement, then we will see that at a later time for approval. And then, of course, are there any comments, concerns, or questions in regards to the waiver request of the 5-foot in the pond? All right, if there's no further comments or questions, then I would entertain a motion for the subdivision 2006, the Annika Estates preliminary plat and plans.
Joey, I'll make a motion to approve subdivision 2006, Annika subdivision. I'd also make a motion to approve the waiver for the 10-foot maintainable area around the pond, and note that we're going to see the adjacent street improvements at a subsequent meeting.
This is Craig. I'll second.
Craig's going to second it, but was that one motion, Joey, or
All of it.
Yeah, it was included in one motion, Jeff. Yes.
All right.
I'll smooth that out.
Todd's got it on audio, so good luck
Yeah,
with that.
I got that.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there anyone that's opposed? All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Next on the agenda, subdivision 20-10, Forest Park Phase 3 replats of CP1 and CP2. And I have a note that maybe Tim or I think Christian was not on the last one, but I don't know if it's Tim or Diane, if you're going to speak on this one.
I'm going to speak, but I see that Bates and Associates is still here. So maybe they would like to start it out.
Is that Brett again?
This is Jeff Bates again.
Okay, sorry, Jeff.
When we originally did this, I guess the developer didn't really think those would be desirable lots. And since then, he's decided that they are, and we're just asking to replat this so they can build some homes there.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Diane, do you want to go ahead and give us an overview?
Sure will. As Jeff mentioned, when phase 3 was final platted, oh gosh, just a couple of months ago, let me see, it was back in February, these parcels were to be called so there would be open space for development.
Yeah, your audio was not good.
She is readjusting.
Any better?
Yeah, not really.
Nothing different from earlier.
Yeah, we're not
Very
going to be
screechy. Can you turn down your mic?
What?
Do a test for us, Diane. I couldn't hardly hear you there.
Nicole, Nicole said to test something.
That's better.
Okay, this is better?
We'll just have to listen very attentively.
Okay, well, usually I'm a loudmouth, so that's bizarre. So, surprise, surprise that y'all can't hear me. Like I said, this was supposed to be open space for the development, which the final plat was approved by City Council in February of this year. Well, they would like to come through and make those 2 open properties, open space properties into 5 residential lots. This one, pretty much all of the utility lines and easements are already there from the phase 2. And all the street improvements, none are required currently because they had all been done previously. The frontage for all these lots, of course, will be on the interior street, which is Clydesdale. And that will be noted on the plat that none of these lots will have access onto Gamble Road. There are several existing easements on these lots. There's a 25-foot gas easement and a 15-foot utility easement that are located on the rear of the proposed lot. So that would be on the Gamble side. And a 15-foot sewer easement and 20-foot utility easement are located at the front of the proposed lots. I mean, really nothing as far as on the front, any more unusual than a typical subdivision. There's just some additional on the back. And also there is a 20-foot utility easement that runs between lots 185 and 186. There's no floodplain, no wetlands. And as far as open space, well, there was open space, and now with the exception of detention ponds, there's no longer any dedicated open space within this subdivision. And any drainage was approved with Forest Park Phase 3. And I hope y'all heard me okay.
Yeah, we did. So if I'm understanding correctly, on the original plat, this would have all said just open space, nothing designated?
That is correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff.
No, you're correct.
Okay. Any comments or questions, concerns from any of the commissioners?
I have one question. Has John reviewed the drainage? Typically, the open space is going to have a different coefficient than a buildable lot, and wanted to make sure that was accounted for in the detention pond.
Yes, John did review the detention, and there were no comments for any, about any additional drainage issues. The biggest comment that anybody had was to make sure, because I guess a lot of fill from what Rick Hudson had stated, that there was a lot of fill brought into these properties, just to make sure, you know, about compaction on these lots that they're built on.
Okay, just wanted to check.
But as far as drainage, no, there were no comments.
All right, thanks, Diane. If
I
there's
think
no.
John is available and he unmuted himself. Did you want to say something,
we
John?
Go for it, John.
Hey, Joey, the development was designed with the post-developed coefficient for the entire property of a 0.75. So it was accounted for in original design.
Got it. Thank you, John.
All right, you're welcome.
Thanks, John.
This is Lorraine, and the reason that these were common lots, that they didn't plat them as lots, is because they were not required to help with the road improvement cost for Gamble Road. So they said that these lots would not be platted lots, they would just be common lots and remain open. And like Diane was saying, a concern is the fill and then the grade on those lots. So somehow they went ahead and put in the utility connections, I guess, and had it already in the works to go ahead and plat these. So they're coming back to do so.
All right, thanks, Lorraine. All right, if there's no additional comments or questions, then I would entertain a motion for subdivision 20-10, the Forest Park Phase 3 replat of CP1 and CP2.
I also just wanted to point out real quick, there's not a grading plan included in this plan set, but it's pretty steep right up to the lots off of Clydesdale. So I'm wondering if the engineer can kind of speak to what the game plan is, since they're shallow lots, for driveways onto these lots with the steep grade at the street.
Well, we don't typically design, do a grading plan on just individual lots, but what they'll probably do is just block them up, block the house up, and then grade around it to make sure the runoff gets around it and not be they don't want a steep driveway, so they should keep it. I mean, if we did a grading plan on it, I'd know for sure, but since we haven't, I can't directly address that, but I would say that they'll just block it up and fill in around it. And those, well, go ahead.
I don't know if Rick or John want to speak to that.
It's not a requirement.
Tim McGuire raised his hand to speak. He's the builder.
Yes, I just wanted to answer that question. Typically, when we have a back to front sloping lot like that, we will drop the garage down. And then, so if we want to drop the garage down 2 or 3 feet, we'll design it accordingly, drop the garage down to lower the driveway. Obviously, houses with real steep driveways don't sell as well as flat ones, right? So we kind of understand that as builders, and we typically would just drop them down, and then we'll put stairs into the house going up from the garage. If we have anyone that's handicapped, we'll go ahead and do a handicap ramp up into the house and design that accordingly. But just to answer, I just wanted to answer your question on the steepness of the driveway.
Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Again, my only comment was that we know that there was a lot of fill put on this. I want to make sure that you address this during the building of these houses, because I know there was no compaction done on this during that phase. It was walked in and it looks good. And with a few years of settling, it'd probably be good, but we're pushing it a little bit quicker than 3 years or something, and we could have some settling there.
Hey, Rick, this is Joey. I know in a few other subdivisions, we've had some concerns with the lot compaction, and it was kind of a last minute deal, with the final plat. With this one, it's kind of a different situation. could we go ahead and require compaction testing before building permits are issued as
One
part
of-
of this replat?
One thing that I asked for is a geotech to look at this, and I don't think it would hurt for a geotech to do a bore on it and do some analysis on it and see how it looks. I think that would be a protecting the home buyer in the future.
I think it would also make it clear for, as it goes through the process, as to when that needs to happen. So I think I would support that.
Jeff or Tim, you guys okay with that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We have already proceeded with that. An engineering company has already started that process of the compaction testing. And we should have those results back soon as to what we have to do. And we will adjust accordingly as to what they advise.
Thank you, Tim.
So if we make a note on this replat that before the building permit's issued, the compaction testing must be complete and presented to the city, you don't have an issue with that?
I'm okay with it, but yeah, now you can put it in there now. It doesn't have to be before the houses. It could be done now. I'm open to whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, and if you get it done now, that's just less you have to do.
Yeah, that's why we went. That's why we went ahead and did it. We understand. I mean, we know what we did and where the dirt is, so we understand really what's going on there. And certainly, I, as more than anybody, don't want any problems with the house settling. 540 houses to date, and I've never had a foundation failure, and I'm not going to start now. So if we need to do something, we will certainly do it. But that's already been done. It's already in the works, and we can give that to you shortly, probably within 3 or 4 days.
Tim, this is Lorraine. I have one more question because since this is a little bit different than what we typically will do on a subdivision plat, because there's no grading plan. And then also I was told that all the utility connections are there. Is that true? Is there water and sewer connection to each of these lots already installed?
Yes, there are. The water is. The sewer has not been installed. Not really sure how we got ahead of the gun there. That's my fault. I went in and paid the water and sewer fees for that, just going off the sheet that I was given by the city, and not realizing that that I probably should have waited until tonight. But learning curve, my bad there. So, we can eat that if we have to, but it wasn't that much money anyway. But yes, to answer your question, the water is there. Taps are there.
Okay. And I guess, and then Diane, is this a preliminary or a final plat that you're recommending? The packet says a preliminary plat, and then is there a list of what they need to do in order to get the final plat?
It'll be preliminary because they haven't done any kind of pre-con, although I'm not sure what pre-con would be required. But yeah, so right now this is a preliminary.
It's a replat, so once this is filed, they start building houses. It's not like a preliminary and final plat for a subdivision. They're just replatting these and creating these lots. And he'll be able to start building just as soon as this is approved. There's no infrastructure to install. It's all already there. They'll just
All right,
they would have to pay them for their taps, their sewer.
Okay, is the sewer along the front of the lots? I can't see this.
Sewer's on their side of the road. I don't think we have the water meters shown though, unless I'm missing them.
Well, yeah, the water meters were just set last week.
Yeah, we didn't know they were set.
Yeah, because Frank did say that they would have to get with him to determine the location of the water taps.
Yes.
Okay. For our records, though, we will need those as-built of utilities of where those sewer and water tap locations are, right?
Yes.
And then are any other fire hydrants or anything else required from anybody? I guess they look like they're set. Good. Okay, because it's a little bit difficult when you have a replat of property, but and you're going and you're platting 5 lots. And if these had not had the utilities installed, like they were originally stated that they would not, then it would be a little bit different.
I think what you're thinking is, he didn't do it on purpose at the time, but it sure sounds like it's coming out that way, but
well,
he just put the meters in last week, so he went and got those too soon. Is what I understand, unless I'm completely wrong, but my understanding is that he just did that.
the meters, but the lines were put in, the
Oh,
service lines, but
No, the lines were-
regardless.
No, the lines were already there. There was.
Right,
Yeah, we just.
you just set the meters.
No, the city did the work. We didn't do the work.
Because Laureen, this was filed as a preliminary plat. I mean, they did the preliminary fee, the preliminary engineering.
Right, and that would be typical, and then they would go through and they would install, well, if everything's already there, all the taps and everything are already there, which I'm understanding the sewer taps are not, they would do whatever needed to be done to make those ready to build, and then it would final plat. I think that there's just some real simple things that they needed to do, and so it may be able to go into final plat. I wish Frank was on the line, because I think he's the main one that would.
Electric's in place, water's already there, sewer's already there. We just really did turn them into lots. It's just a matter of getting the sewer and water taps in there. That's all there was to it. Gas is already there, everything's there.
And did Frank ask for an as-built of the utilities?
Did Frank ask for one?
Yes.
No, I was just going off the summation of comments that the Centerton staff put out that I was given by Christian from Bates. And I just looked at everything that needed to be done and started doing it.
Yeah, and Frank was also under the assumption that this was a preliminary plat and not a final or anything requiring any as-builts.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, so Frank was looking at this as preliminary plat approval. Then he will make sure everything's on the lots, and then they will get final. Is that what you understood, Diane?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, I don't understand what that means. If everything's already there, I mean, when you do a preliminary plat, it's just ground. And then we come in and put all the roads, water, sewer, storm, all that stuff, and then we do a final plat. Well, all that's there. I
don't think your utility infrastructure was in, Jeff.
It's just service lines now. I mean, they're just doing a tap.
Correct. And as part of the final plat, you have to locate those services. So I don't know if you can get away with just an as-built or not, but I think that's what Lorraine's trying to say here.
Well, that's what it sounds like. The easiest thing would be to do an as-built instead of waiting another month and coming back and y'all look at exactly the same thing, and we just have as-built plans. I don't know. I'm trying to make it easy for everyone.
I think where the hangup was that if you replatted up to 4 lots, you didn't have to go into it.
3.
You happen to have, was it 3? I didn't know what somebody said 4, but so we have 5. So I think that's what tipped the scale.
But you don't have the services already existing and shown. Here's what I propose. I propose that it is a preliminary plat at this time during the next 2 weeks until the next meeting on August the 4th. then we could come back with a final plat, make sure that we have everything we need for the utilities, and it will still meet the same deadline, going to city council for approval of the final plat.
Well, can I say one more thing? It says on the new business of order, it says this is a replat.
You are replatting, but they were not, they're common lots. If those, you do have access to water and sewer, but the timing is going to be the same. And this way we can talk with Frank and see what he needs before this plat is filed. And also, you said that you've been getting the compaction, so I would say that's something, was that on Robbie's list also?
Yes. and
Having
that's-
compaction tests. So I believe that those things would be, that they were looking at this as preliminary, like a normal subdivision. And because that's what we would do, even if we split a lot, we make sure they have that tap in or that the other utility connection before we file that plat.
Understood.
And it was voiced to Christian and also Tim that this wasn't, that this was preliminary. It was going to have to go through everything. It wasn't a do this and you're done and you can final.
It's not a big deal. We can wait.
It's going to go to the council the same date, but we'll just be tying up the loose ends.
Okay.
And the council is on the 18th. No, the 11th.
Okay, we can come back then.
Okay, and then the next meeting is on the 4th. So that's a week before council.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, so from the planning commissioner's perspective, we will consider this a preliminary, and it will be on the agenda if everything's tied up on the next meeting as a final.
Okay, and will someone send us everything in writing as to what we need to have done by the time of the next meeting? Do you want everything wrapped up, everything noted, GPS, everything totally finished? Is that what we're wanting to do before we approve it?
Yes, and like the lots will need to be staked. I don't know if they are. Are they pinned
Yeah.
already?
They are. Yeah, lots are staked, water meters are put where they're supposed to go, sewer taps were supposed to go in this Friday. So that's pretty much it. We're just waiting on the compaction test, and I was told that we should have that by Friday. So sounds like everything will be just fine. We're not in a hurry to start building anyway.
Okay. Appreciate it, Jim.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yes, you'll get a recap from Diane. I don't want to speak for her, but you'll get a recap from Diane so that you
Yeah.
have everything that you need.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Anything else from any of the commissioners? Or anything else from staff? If not, then I would entertain a motion. Again, we're going to call this preliminary plats for subdivision 20-10, the Forest Park Phase 3. This is the replat of CP1 and CP2.
This is Tiffany. I'll make a motion to approve subdivision 20-10 Forest Park Phase 3 replat, CP1 and CP2.
Devin, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Thanks, Tim.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda this evening, under other business, is a proposed amendment to Title 13, the bylaws for 9 members on the Planning Commission. So today, the way that it's set up, we have 8 members, and as we were going through the candidates, we had a good discussion with the mayor and with Lorraine in regards to the opportunity to potentially add and go to a 9th commissioner. And with that, you know, it would also, you know, allow us to not have a tie if all members were present. Today, we could actually end in a tie, which is not a good thing, which I think in my time, we've probably done that once, in which we kind of had to go back and forth a couple of times, if memory serves me correct, Devin. So, but this would allow us to go to 9. And so, Lorraine, I don't know if you want to give any other feedback, but you know, it's kind of something that I'm excited about. It gives, you know, one more person the opportunity to, you know, serve the city and be on the planning commission. So, Lorraine, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
I don't really have anything to add. I do think having 9 people, sometimes it's that tiebreaker vote. So, but I think the more, well, you don't want to get too many different opinions, but of course, but I think 9, as we're growing, I think that will be a good number. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, and we actually looked around various cities in Arkansas, and they go as high as 10. And then we saw some others in the area around 9. So we actually had a conversation with the mayor again today. And so our plan would be to change from 8 to 9 in the future.
So we would be appointing somebody new? Is that correct?
Yes.
I just added John to my little sheet here, so. But I could get Pam to fix that. We can add another one. There's room at the bottom.
Is that laminated too, Todd?
It is. You know, Pam did that for me. I'm not taking credit.
Wow.
You don't think
Man,
I
that's
can?
nice.
Man,
It's nice when you have to
about-
redo it again, though.
Talk about spoiled. Holy cow.
I'm treated well.
All right. Lorraine or staff, anything else to add before I go on to announcements?
Jeff, I have something to bring up. I noticed a discrepancy on the Bliss project. The agenda is showing subdivision 19-19, but the project packet is showing 19-12. And I just wanted to make sure the correct number was approved.
Look at you.
That's what I'm talking about, Amber.
You are good.
I
It
think
should
that
be
was high, is
1912.
what you gave us. Nicole, do you know what the correct number is?
It should be 1912.
Todd, do we have to go back and change anything, or can we just make a note that the intended purpose was there?
Sure, I made that motion and I read it off of the agenda, so it would be wrong.
I don't even think we have a 1919, do we?
So
We
No.
do. It's Tuscany
Probably do.
Phase 3. Nope, that's 1909.
Nope, that's
sorry.
09. I think we went
I don't think we have a 1919 either.
no.
So I believe it would be easier to amend the motion to include the correct number if
Yes.
Nicole, Lorraine, if you guys would agree with that, rather than go back and try to correct all the paperwork. So if that's the desired way to go, Tiffany, would you
I think that was me, wasn't it? That's been a while ago.
What? You didn't make notes of everything you approved?
I think that's right, Tiffany.
No, Todd does that.
I do. And actually, it was Tiffany that made the motion. Because I asked her to
Billy
include the waiver.
seconded.
So I'll amend my motion for project subdivision 19, what was formerly known as subdivision 19-19, to be the correct number of subdivision 19-12 with street twin homes preliminary plat and plans, also including the waivers.
Keep it consistent. I'll second that again. So Todd doesn't have to pull his hair out.
I appreciate it. You know, actually, I mean, all of my notes already have 12 on it.
Ooh.
All right. Is anybody opposed to the amendment for what was known as 1919? All right. Duly noted. Amber, thank you for your attentiveness. And
You're
keep
welcome.
this in mind.
Should we work around 1919? Is it got some kind of some kind of connotation attached to it now.
I mean, when we're going to skip 2020. If we get to 2020, staff, change it. Don't.
Agree.
I don't even want to deal with it. So
That is fair.
But again, thank you, Amber.
You're welcome.
Our next planning meeting is scheduled for August 4th, 6 p.m. and it will be virtual. Actually, just plan on the next 2 meetings in August, plan on virtual as well. Just based with everything going on, we'll just plan on that. So, okay.
And I'm sorry, I didn't see, oh, Todd, you were probably about to say the same thing, or somebody was, but Robin
It's
Reed.
me. Robin Reed had her hand up to speak. Is that
Sorry
what
about
it
that.
was?
Yep.
Okay.
You guys kind of cut out and over talked. Did someone have their hand up to speak?
Yes, Robin Reed had her hand up to speak. Robin, you are unmuted.
Robin, go ahead, please. Robin, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just have a quick question on the members. We barely talked about it at the last council meeting. And now that amendments been proposed and apparently you guys are all on board, how does it pass that quickly?
Robin, the council is the one that decides this, and we were asked to bring it to the commission to get their opinion, but it is changed in the title 13 by an ordinance that the council approves, not by the commission.
Okay, so was that done at the last meeting?
No, the council just discussed it.
And the mayor has the proposed ordinance that he will be bringing to you guys at the next council meeting.
Oops.
So Robin, he brought it up to council just to see if council would entertain that so that he could bring it back to the commission so that they could vote on whether or decide whether they were willing to adjust the bylaws. And then it comes back to you.
Now, where did he go? Okay. And the mayor is on, okay.
Yeah, I'm here, but I think Todd already covered it.
Okay.
I still don't understand. That's what I'm asking.
Somebody other than me.
Well, what's the question, Robin? I mean, it can be decided by the council. The mayor asked for our input or opinion, or at least to have a discussion with the planning commission, which is what we did this evening. And then he will prepare the ordinance that you guys will see at the next meeting.
Robin, are you maybe confused? We have a new commissioner, John. He's in place of Ty. He's not the 9th. He's the 8th.
No.
Is that maybe where the confusion is?
No, the confusion, well, it's really not confusion, but we were discussed, I'm thinking that off the top of my head that, because don't have my council notes in front of me, but that you guys had some awesome interviewers and that you guys, it was suggested that maybe you guys take on another one because you got such good applicants this last time. And that's why the number 9 came into effect. Is that a true statement or is that just something I slept on?
It's a true statement. He did mention that, but he did say that the reason for that is so that we have a tie-breaking vote, and also that we tend, no offense to any of the commissioners, but we tend to, because of the mix of our commission, that we have tendency to have one or more commissioners that are out. So we wanted to make sure we have enough commissioners and that we have a tie-breaking vote when all the commissioners are there. But he did mention the fact that during the application process, there are some really good applicants out there. So he did mention that. You didn't make that up, Robin. You didn't
Okay.
see
Hey, Robin, the 24 pages of minutes are in the Dropbox also, and that's clearly stated in there.
I can vouch for those.
Okay. I'm just trying to make some clarification. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Robin. All right, anything else, Lorraine or Nicole, Donna, Diane?
I would like to get John's email address so that I can make sure to email him the council minutes as well.
Yes, Todd.
Absolutely. I'll send it to you, Todd.
Thank you, sir.
All right, if there's nothing else, again, just a note, 8/4 is our next meeting, virtual. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. That's an easy one, John.
Hey, it's John. Motion to adjourn.
Second, Devin.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Is anyone opposed? All right, thank you, guys. Have a good rest of the week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, y'all.
You
Have a
too.
good evening.
Bye.
Thank you.